Look closely at this image. Your brain tells you it's a camera trick, a Photoshop, a collision of two entirely different worlds. This isn't Antarctica. It's not the Swiss Alps or the jagged peaks of Alaska. This is the Earth's equator, the absolute hottest latitudinal belt on our planet. A place where the sun strikes with brutal, direct intensity all year round. Yet rising out of the dust of the East African wilderness is a massive ancient glacier. And 150 years ago, the smartest scientists on Earth swore it was a flat-out lie. To understand how completely this mountain broke science, we have to go back to May of 1848. A German missionary named Johannes Rebmann stepped out of the dense, malaria-ridden jungles of East Africa.
Mount
He had
Kilimanjaro.
traveled deeper into the interior than almost any European before him. As he emerged onto the open plains, he looked up and froze. Rising over 5,000 meters into the sky was the mountain the local people called Kilimanjaro. But it wasn't just its height that shocked him. Its summit was capped in a blinding, brilliant dome of white. Rebmann immediately pulled out his diary and wrote, "I saw something remarkably white on the top. The guide told me it was cold, and I knew it could be nothing else but snow." But when he sent his reports across the ocean to the prestigious Royal Geographical Society in London, the scientific elite didn't just doubt him, they mocked him. You see, 19th century science was governed by rigid dogma. According to the prevailing geographical laws of the time, snow at the equator was a physical impossibility. The torrid zone was meant to be a belt of perpetual fire and heat. A prominent English geographer named William Desborough Cooley spearheaded a campaign to discredit Rebmann. He published papers claiming the missionary was simply uneducated, suffering from a fever-induced delirium, or that he had mistaken hyper-reflective blocks of quartz rock for ice. For nearly a decade, the civilized world chose to believe a comfortable academic lie rather than face an impossible reality that the African continent held a secret that defied their understanding of the laws of nature. But Johannes Rebmann wasn't crazy. In 1861, an expedition finally reached the base of the mountain and confirmed the truth to the world. The snow was real. Africa possessed ice at the equator. Yet, as the scientific community scrambled to rewrite their textbooks, they realized Kilimanjaro was just the opening act. Deeper within the heart of the continent, shrouded in a permanent wall of mist and jungle, lay an even greater, more terrifying geographic anomaly. A legendary mountain range so strange, it didn't just hold ice. It looked like an entirely different planet. Next up, we enter the mountains of the moon. For thousands of years, ancient geographers whispered about a legendary place hidden deep within the dark interior of Africa. In the 2nd century, the Greek scholar Ptolemy drew a map of the world. At the very bottom, he claimed that the source of the mighty Nile River wasn't a lake, but a mythical, snow-capped mountain range he called the Mountains of the Moon. For nearly 2 millennia, Western science dismissed it as pure fantasy. They believed no such mountains existed. They were wrong, but nothing could prepare them for what those mountains actually looked like. This is the Rwenzori mountain range. Unlike Kilimanjaro, which stands alone as a single volcano, the Rwenzoris are a massive, jagged wall of tectonic rock pushed up from the Earth's crust. Because they are permanently choked by dense mist rising from the Congo Basin, they have created one of the most isolated, surreal ecosystems on Earth. Climbing these slopes is like traveling backward in time by 60 million years. Here, Standard garden weeds have evolved into prehistoric monsters. Groundsel plants grow into twisted 10-foot trees covered in thick fur to survive the nightly freezing temperatures. Giant lobelias shoot up like alien spires out of a perennially frozen bog. It is a place of perpetual twilight where the line between plant and nightmare blurs. And then, at 5,000 meters, you reach the ice. Unlike the dry, powdery snow of the European Alps, the glaciers of the Rwenzori are born from the wet, tropical breath of the Congo jungle. This creates a strange, hyperdense, green-tinted ice that clings precariously to near-vertical rock faces. Here, just miles from some of the hottest savannas on the planet, sits a frozen world of ice caves, deadly crevasses, and hanging glaciers. It is a geographic paradox, an Arctic wasteland floating directly above a tropical paradise. For centuries, these mountains guarded their frozen secrets behind walls of malaria, dense jungle, and impassable mist. They survived the rise and fall of empires, untouched and unchanged. But just as humanity finally mapped them, we realized something terrifying. The tropical breath of the jungle that created these glaciers is changing. The ice is dying, and the race to witness the impossible snow before it vanishes forever is already being lost. Next up, we face the ghost of Kilimanjaro. For over 10,000 years, the equatorial glaciers of Africa stood as timeless sentinels. They survived shifts in the Earth's orbit, the rise and fall of civilizations, and the curiosity of early explorers. But today, we are witnessing their final breathless act. The impossible snow is vanishing, and it is happening faster than anyone ever predicted. The numbers are brutal. Since 1912, more than 85% of the ice on Mount Kilimanjaro has completely disappeared. In the Rwenzori Mountains, the legendary mountains of the moon, the glaciers have shrunk by half in just the last few decades. Scientists who study these peaks are no longer debating if the ice will melt. They are calculating the date of its funeral. Some models predict that by the mid-21st century, their summits will be entirely bare. The tropical ice fields will be nothing more than a ghost story. But this isn't just a loss for geography textbooks or tourists. It is a crisis for the millions of people who live in the valleys below. For generations, local communities like the Chaga have looked at the White Peaks not just as a landmark, but as a sacred provider. Those glaciers act as massive water towers, slowly releasing moisture throughout the year to feed the rivers, sustain the dense forests, and water the crops during the brutal dry seasons. As the ice towers shrink, the natural plumbing system of East Africa is breaking down. When the glaciers die, the rivers risk drying up, threatening the very survival of the life they support. In the near future, a child will stand on the dusty plains of East Africa, look up at the highest peak on the continent, and see only dark, bare rock. They will look at the old photographs of a white summit and wonder if the stories of ice on the equator were just a myth. Johannes Rebmann was mocked for telling the world that Africa held an impossible truth. Our generation will be remembered as the ones who watched that truth slip away. The clock is ticking, and the ghost of Kilimanjaro is watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.